Here are the top stories for today, December 14, 2021. President Rodrigo Duterte wants to ensure that all Filipinos are safe from the possible effects of Odette. An electronic raffle was held today at the Commission on Elections. Party list names will no longer be in alphabetical order. More volunteers are needed as the second run of Bayanihan Bakunahan starts tomorrow. And an animal adoption center may soon open in Baguio City. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte reminded the public to cooperate with national and local authorities should there be a need for evacuation or other necessary actions. He wants to ensure that all Filipinos, especially those who are or near the tropical depression's projected path, are safe.
I direct our government agencies and LGUs, as well as to urge our countrymen, especially those who are on or near its projected path, to keep monitoring the situation and conduct all necessary preparations and precautions. All you have to do is to watch TV and makita mo yung trajectory ng takbo ng bagyo. So, kung malapit kayo dyan, medyo umalis na muna kayo. Especially if the Pag-asa, the Weather Bureau would say, umalis kayo dyan sa lugar na yan kasi dyan tatama.
As of Sunday, the Department of Social Welfare and Development has available stockpiles and standby funds for disaster response. Meanwhile, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III proposed the postponement of the second simultaneous vaccination drive against COVID-19 in areas that are expected to be affected by the tropical depression. Instead of holding the Bayanihan Bakunahan vaccination days on December 15 to 17, Duque said they recommended moving it to December 20 to 22nd in affected areas. The Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council in Bicol is well prepared for the expected coming of Odette. During a pre-disaster assessment meeting yesterday, OCD Regional Director Claudio Yucot said the region has been placed under a blue alert status. This means preparedness measures have to be in place for the public safety. Response cluster lead agencies were tasked to present their preparedness measures, while the Philippine Coast Guard and various disaster councils were directed to implement a localized no-sailing policy. Measures are in place in Agusan del Norte and Cebu City for the coming of Odette. The details from Chris Mundo.
In Agusan del Norte, information dissemination to residents residing in critical areas is ongoing as part of the preparations being conducted by the local Disaster and Risk Reduction Management Council. The Provincial Engineering Office also took part in the preparatory activity and has identified areas where the provincial equipment will be pre-positioned. Based on the assessment and the data provided by Pag-asa, the eastern side of the province will be hit first by the landfall of Odette tonight, which includes the towns of Kitcharao, Habonga, Tago, Tubay, Remedios, T. Romualdez, and Magallanes. Meanwhile, in Cebu, Mayor Michael Rama ordered the evacuation of residents in the riversides and seafront as part of the preventive measures for the coming of Odette. Due to the threat of big waves, Rama urged residents in Ermita, Pasil, and Suba, as well as those situated in the riversides of Barangay Kinalumsan and Mahiga, to cooperate with the DRRMO personnel who would be in charge of their evacuation. Mayor Rama said at least 100 sites in 38 barangays will be closely monitored for flooding, as well as about 50 sites in 11 hinterland barangays for possible landslides. He said the city is also establishing links with private responders such as the Emergency Rescue Unit Foundation and Philippine Red Cross. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Meanwhile, Senator Christopher Lawrence Go stressed the importance of evacuation centers as temporary shelters of disaster-hit villagers nationwide. Go, who is also the chair of the Senate Committee on Health and Demography, said evacuation centers in every city, municipality, and province will ensure the safety and welfare of families who are affected by natural or man-made calamities. He reiterated his call for the passage of Senate Bill number 1228, otherwise known as the Mandatory Evacuation Center Act. The bill aims to ensure that affected families have access to safe and comfortable shelters in times of emergencies. President Rodrigo Duterte urged the Commission on Elections, or Comelec, to ensure that all campaign activities adhere to health protocols. This amid the looming threat of new COVID-19 variants. He warned that failure to observe health protocols amid large gatherings could lead to a worse resurgence in COVID-19 infections. He also called on those participating in large gatherings to continue exercising utmost caution and prudence in the conduct of their exercises.
So I'd like to call the attention of the Comelec. Kayo man ang ngayon, you are the ones supervising the elections. As a matter of fact, you are the one running this show. Hindi ba ninyo, could you not just issue i-maintain lang yung social distance? Hindi na ba ano karami? Punuin mo yung luneta as long as you maintain the regulations imposed by government. Kasi mahirap po ito kung magbalik. It might come back with vengeance.
Meanwhile, President Duterte said that his administration will remain neutral in the upcoming national elections.
At this early, I'd like to not just magbigay lang ng payo that when it comes to the elections, government, the administration, will stand neutral. Neither for or against kami, kalaban o kasama sa partido. We will participate in the exercise of that right, but we will see to it that there will be no terrorism about buying at intimidation and everything that would put a hindrance to an honest election.
An electronic raffle was held this morning at the Commission on Elections for the order of listing of party list groups in the upcoming national elections. A total of 164 party list groups participated in the said raffle. Comelec data showed that there are 152 approved registered organizations, while 12 party list groups are pending. Moreover, a total of 107 groups were also denied, and their motions for reconsideration were turned down. The final listing will be published and posted in 2 newspapers of general circulation and the official website within 15 days after the raffle. Still to come, the DOH says the government did not drop the ball in a syringe deal with the United States. And the government calls on everyone to volunteer for the second leg of the nationwide vaccination drive. Details ahead, keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
Follow me, Jones po, para sa kampanyang Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Bakit ba kailangan magparehistro sa pagpapabakuna laban sa COVID-19? Mahalaga magparehistro dahil ito ang unang step sa pagpapabakuna laban sa COVID-19. May 3 pamamaraan upang makapagrehistro ang isang Pilipino na nais mabakunahan. Una, ang online registration sa inyong local government unit o LGU. Pangalawa, ang pagpunta sa mga vaccination centers at pagkuha ng registration form. At pakikipag-ugnayan sa mga pinuno ng barangay o sa mga barangay health center. Tandaan, online, sa mga vaccination site o sa mga barangay health centers ang pagpaparehistro sa pagpapabakuna kontra COVID-19. Muli ako po si Paolo Medjones, Disiplina Muna Ambassador na nagpapaalala, huwag matakot magpabakuna. Bida ang may disiplina. Magparehistro at magpabakuna para ligtas ang pamilya, ligtas ang bayan. Disiplinadong Pilipino ay rehistrado para maging bakunado.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque III on Monday corrected the misimpression that the government dropped the ball again in the emergency procurement of micro-syringes for COVID-19 vaccines. This after Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. posted on Twitter on Saturday that the government refused an offer of 50 million pieces of syringes. In an interview, Duque said the supplier's price is higher than the budget the government allotted for the syringes. He also clarified that the micro-syringes are not a donation as implied by Locsin. Locsin also tweeted that the DOH's offer of 4.7 cents per micro-syringe is hallucinatory because 7 cents is the lowest price offer in the market. The DOH and the National Task Force Against COVID-19 explained in a statement on Sunday that 2 pesos and 38 centavos per syringe was the basis for the ongoing procurement. Duque said Locsin could have reached out to him for clarifications instead of posting online. Over 1.5 million doses of the Janssen COVID-19 vaccine arrived in the country last night. A single-shot vaccine such as Janssen provides for a faster rollout, simplifying the logistics of mass vaccination. Assistant Secretary Wilben Mayor of the National Task Force Against COVID-19 said the latest shipment is part of the donated 7.5 million doses from the Netherlands through the COVAX facility. This, he said, is the biggest donation that the country received so far from one country. He said the bulk of the newly delivered vaccines will be deployed to island provinces of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Meanwhile, a portion of it will be distributed to other regions and provinces that have a cold chain storage facility and in areas with a large number of unvaccinated senior citizens. It is all set for the second leg of the nationwide Bayanihan Bakunahan vaccination drive. Acting presidential spokesperson and Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles said the government targets to inoculate about 7 million more Filipinos starting tomorrow. Meanwhile, he said areas that are affected by Odette will have to reschedule their inoculation days on December 20 to 22nd.
Kaugnay pa rin ng Bayanihan Bakunahan, naglabas din ng advisory ang Civil Service Commission na nananawagan for volunteers para sa second round ng ating National Vaccination Days. Part of the Civil Service Commission advisory reads, and I quote, "The Commission enjoins all government agencies and their officials and employees, irrespective of position, rank, and status, to volunteer. Volunteers shall be considered on official business and in the performance of their functions, and shall be entitled to official travel allowances and other related expenses subject to the availability of funds and pertinent accounting, auditing, and budgeting rules and regulations. Agencies are advised to assign a focal person to coordinate with the DOH regional or provincial office concerned to facilitate deployment, orientation, and training of volunteer government employees if necessary."
The government is studying the possibility of shortening the interval between primary doses and booster shots. The current guidelines require 6 months except for the single-dose Janssen vaccine that needs just 3 months. Citing advice from health experts, National Task Force Chief Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said shortening the administration interval between the second dose and booster or additional shots will drastically improve protection against COVID-19 infection. Galvez said the recommendation to shorten the interval administration of primary doses and booster shots will also help the government utilize the 62 million doses of COVID-19 jabs in the stockpile before they expire. Meanwhile, the government will continue to prioritize senior citizens and persons with comorbidities as it expands the vaccination program with booster shots for more sectors. The second round of Bayanihan Bakunahan will start tomorrow until Friday, December 17. Speaker Lord Alan Velasco on Monday has urged the national government to review the policy on COVID-19 vaccine procurement to allow the private sector to purchase directly from manufacturers. Pursuant to Republic Act 11525 or the COVID-19 Vaccination Program Act of 2021, private companies and local government units are authorized to procure vaccines that have been given Emergency Use Authorization or EUA through a tripartite agreement with manufacturers and the national government. Velasco said he is open to amending the law to allow private companies to directly purchase vaccines for their workers and dependents. He is also open to give some responsibilities and functions in the COVID-19 vaccination program from the national government to LGUs. Velasco said expanding the private sector's role in the inoculation drive would sustain the momentum of the government's COVID-19 vaccination program. The max vaccination drive will have a second run from December 15 to 17. The Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA on Monday awarded scholarship grants to 100 beneficiaries in Valencia, Negros Oriental. The awarding happened at a Duterte Legacy Caravan spearheaded by the Presidential Communications Operations Office or PCOO. TESDA Negros Oriental Provincial Director Joel Villagracia turned over the scholarship grants in cash and in kind to Valencia Mayor Edgar Teves in the presence of PCOO Chief Secretary Martin Andanar. The recipients of the scholarship grants are enrolled in courses such as welding and cookery. Villagracia said they anchored their program and services in line with the socio-economic agenda of the President. From 2016 to 2021, TESDA has helped 42,000 beneficiaries under different scholarship programs in the province. The Duterte Legacy Bayanihan Caravan Towards National Recovery is in Negros Oriental from December 13 to 17 to raise awareness on the administration's accomplishments. Up next, the alleged misencounter between anti-drug operatives last February may be resolved early next year. And Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program beneficiaries in Nueva Ecija learn advanced techniques to grow high-value crops. More stories when the PNA Newsroom returns. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
You are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective. I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic because everyone is safe, no one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work. The alleged misencounter between the Quezon City Police District anti-drug operatives and officers of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency may be resolved early next year. Prosecutor General Benedicto Malcontento said his office has consolidated the cases filed by the National Bureau of Investigation and PDEA regarding the February 24 incident at a mall along Commonwealth Avenue. Back in September, various charges were filed against members of the QCPD and the PDEA. The incident turned out to be a botched anti-drug operation allegedly due to non-coordination between the QCPD and PDEA. The NBI was designated as the sole investigating body by President Rodrigo Duterte for the incident that resulted in the death of 2 police officers, a PDEA agent, and an informant. Farmers are sure to benefit from the 20 million peso farm-to-market road in San Remigio, Antique, funded by the Barangay Development Program of the National Task Force to end local communist armed conflict. Once completed, the FMR will ease the transport of agricultural goods from the upland village of Barangay Bulan-Bulan to the town market. The funding for Phase 1 could only concretize half of the 4-kilometer road that will start from the last paved road in Barangay Aningalan. The provincial government also allocated an additional 5 million pesos under the 2022 budget for the road construction. Without the access road, residents of Bulan-Bulan disembark at Barangay Aningalan and walk all the way to their destination. San Remigio Mayor Margarito Mision Jr. said the project is targeted for completion within 6 months. San Remigio, located in the mountainous boundary of Antique and Iloilo, serves as the cross-border of CPP and PA rebels fleeing from government forces. Bohol Governor Arthur Yap urged members of Congress to show their sincerity in resolving the half-a-century-old armed conflict by approving funding for barangay-level development projects. Yap said development programs are the answer to the insurgency in communist terrorist group affected areas. He said the projects prepared through the Barangay Development Program are vetted by the local government units side by side with the affected communities and national government agencies. He called on the lawmakers to support the administration's effort to end insurgency in order not to waste more time and lives uselessly. In a separate statement, Negros Oriental Governor Roel de Gamo urged his constituents not to vote for politicians who would block development efforts in conflict-hit villages. Earlier, Mayor Carlo George Joan Reyes of Gihulngan City thanked President Duterte and the legislative branch for funding development projects in his city. Gihulngan City is considered as the most vulnerable area in Central Visayas due to the presence of the New People's Army or NPA. Beneficiaries of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program or 4Ps in Barangay Conversion Pantabangan, Nueva Ecija will soon have a sustainable source of livelihood through growing high-value crops. The Department of Science and Technology, in partnership with the Central Luzon State University, provided the 4Ps group some 30 units of vertical tower hydroponic system with a protective covering. With these, they can start growing high-value crops like strawberries, lettuce, and basil. The vertical garden inside a greenhouse can grow up to 40 plants in each tower, which means more crops can be grown in a small floor area. It can also be used to crops in areas with hot weather conditions. For her part, 4Ps coordinator Marilyn Tiburcio thanked the DOST for this project that could help beneficiaries to have a sustainable source of income amid the COVID-19 pandemic. In Baguio City, the city government of Baguio plans to put up a structure that will house its own animal care and adoption center. Vice Mayor Faustino Oloan, author of the proposed ordinance on the center, noted that the city pound is already congested. The city's pound is being used as a temporary shelter for animals caught roaming in the streets. The animals stay at the city pound until retrieved by the owners or get adopted by those who meet the requirements. If approved, Oloan's ordinance will allow the city to construct a two-story building with individual cages and a surgery room for stray animals. The facility will also house the Animal Health Division of the City Veterinary and Agriculture Office and will facilitate payment of fees for adoption or claim of impounded animals. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. President Rodrigo Duterte wants to ensure that all Filipinos are safe from the possible effects of Odette. An electronic raffle was held today at the Commission on Elections. Party list names will no longer be in alphabetical order. More volunteers are needed as the second run of Bayanihan Bakunahan starts tomorrow. And an animal adoption center may soon open in Baguio City. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And it is 11 days more to go before Christmas for our holiday countdown. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day. Stay safe, everyone.